10 real AWS Cloud interview questions from a Quest2Offer mock. Pause on each one, think how you'd answer, then I'll show you how. Let's go. How do you apply least privilege with IAM, and why prefer roles over long-lived keys? Grant only the actions and resources a workload actually needs, scoped with conditions. Use IAM roles so credentials are temporary and auto-rotated. Never embed static access keys in code or instances. Start tight, then widen using Access Analyzer and CloudTrail to find what's truly used. Layer permission boundaries and SCPs to cap blast radius. When do you reach for EC2, Lambda, or containers? Match the compute to the workload. Lambda for short, event-driven, spiky tasks where you want zero server management. Containers on ECS or EKS for long-running services that need portability, orchestration, or custom runtimes. EC2 when you need full OS control, specialized hardware like GPUs, or licensing tied to the instance. The default lean is serverless first. Drop down only when you must. Walk me through S3 storage classes and durability. All S3 classes give 11 nines of durability, except one zone IA, which keeps data in a single AZ and loses it if that AZ is destroyed. And they differ on access pattern and cost. Standard for hot data, standard IA for infrequent access with a retrieval fee, and glacier tiers for archives where retrieval latency is fine. Use intelligent tiering when access is unpredictable. It moves objects automatically. Drive transitions and expirations with lifecycle policies. Explain VPC subnets and how security groups differ from NACLs. A VPC is your isolated network. Public subnets route to an internet gateway. Private subnets reach out through a NAT gateway. Security groups are stateful and attached to resources. Return traffic is auto-allowed, and they only have allow rules. NACLs are stateless, evaluated per subnet, and support explicit deny. Use security groups as your primary control and NACLs as a coarse backstop. How do auto-scaling and load balancing work together for elasticity? A load balancer spreads traffic across healthy targets, while an auto-scaling group adds or removes instances to match demand. Target tracking scaling holds a metric like CPU or request count at a set point. The ALB's health checks tell the group which instances to replace, so failed nodes drain and get cycled out, spread across multiple AZs for fault tolerance. Quick pause. These are real questions from Quest2Offer's AI mock interview. Pick your target role and level, answer out loud or in writing, and get a breakdown of exactly where you'd get cut. It's free to try at Quest2Offer.ai. Now, back to the questions. RDS or DynamoDB? How do you decide? RDS when you need relational structure, complex joins, transactions, and SQL. It's managed Postgres, MySQL, and friends. DynamoDB when you need single-digit millisecond latency at massive scale with a key value or document model. The trade-off is access patterns. DynamoDB demands you design the table around your queries up front. If the schema or query shape will evolve unpredictably, lean relational. What's the difference between a region and an availability zone, and how does that shape HA? A region is a geographic location. An availability zone is an isolated data center cluster within it, with its own power and networking. For high availability, deploy across multiple AZs, so one zone failing doesn't take you down. That's the standard bar. Go multi-region only for disaster recovery or low global latency, since it adds real cost and data replication complexity. What causes Lambda cold starts and how do you reduce them? A cold start is the latency when Lambda spins up a fresh execution environment, loading the runtime, your code, and initializing dependencies. They hit hardest with heavy runtimes like Java or .NET, large packages, and heavy init logic. VPC attachment is no longer a real factor since AWS pre-warms the network. Cut them with provisioned concurrency or snap start, smaller deployment artifacts, and lighter runtimes. Move one-time setup outside the handler so it's reused across warm invocations. What are your main levers for cost optimization? Right size first. Most waste is over-provisioned compute and idle resources. Commit to savings plans or reserved instances for steady baseline load and use Spot for fault-tolerant or batch work. Tier storage with S3 lifecycle rules and drop unattached EBS volumes and old snapshots. Then make it continuous. Tag everything, watch Cost Explorer, and set budget alerts. CloudFormation or Terraform. How do you think about infrastructure as code? Infrastructure as code makes environments versioned, reviewable, and repeatable. No console clicking. CloudFormation is AWS native, deeply integrated, and needs no state file to manage. Terraform is multi-cloud with a richer module ecosystem, but you own the state backend and locking. Pick CloudFormation for an all AWS shop, Terraform when you span providers. Either way, plan and peer review before apply. That's all 10. How many did you get? Tell me in the comments, and like, subscribe, and try a real mock interview at Quest2Offer.ai. Good luck out there.